Welcome to Retirement with Rick. I'm your host, Rick Rodriguez. This is the place to help you live, enjoy retirement, and help you make informed housing decisions. Today, I'm joined by Rico Romano. Rico's a Las Vegas real estate agent with over 13 years of experience. He's also a Marine vet and a Las Vegas Metro police officer. Rico specializes in the Inspirada community, offering a boutique, full-service approach built on trust, integrity, and deep local knowledge. In this episode, we'll explore what makes Inspirada such a great fit for homeowners, also retirees, give valuable insights on today's market, specifically in Inspirada, and share how working with trusted professionals like Rico can help make your next move smarter and more rewarding. Rico, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you.
Great to have you. First of all, thank you for your service as a Marine vet and certainly for what you're doing right now out there in our city as a Metro officer, keeping us safe, keeping us protected. I know you guys don't get enough respect for all that you do here. I'm born and raised here in Las Vegas, so that is important to me to make sure that whenever I get an opportunity to meet one of our great officers, to let them know that I'm grateful, and I know a lot of us out there would say the same thing, grateful for all that you do. So
that's very kind for you to say, and we really appreciate that sentiment from here in the city. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get to know you a little bit. You've got a blog called Inspirada Life. What is the blog about? What inspired you to start it? And just give us a little, taste of what that's like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, it's still under construction because the vision I have for it is not something that I can really put on a template or find. So I'm kind of creating it on my own, and I'm not a web designer. So it's taking me a little longer than I expected. But basically what I want is like a resource for people that are interested in Inspirada or live in Inspirada to know what's going on, not only with just the real estate market, but events that are happening, what's going on with our schools, like parks, different developments that are coming, because Inspirada and that general area is really going to be exploding in the next 5 years. And it's important to keep abreast of what's going on in the city of Henderson and their planning and what their site is or their vision is for Inspirada.
Yeah. And we'll get definitely more into Inspirada here later. But yeah, that's been one of those communities that's just been waiting to blow up ever since they broke ground however many years ago. And then, of course, the housing market kind of slowed things down for a while there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's been revitalized in the last several years. It seems like it still hasn't reached its prime potential, right?
No, there's a lot to come with it. I think a lot of the builders, except for KB Homes, they're in the horizon of starting to stop the build. Yep. But we've got now a lot of the infrastructure around it that's starting to come in. It's really going to be a great place to live.
Yeah, agree. Like I mentioned here at the beginning, you've had quite a unique career path. Certainly from just serving in the military, you've been a hospitality executive, you're a police officer, realtor. I'm sure you've gotten lessons that you've learned from those different roles. What, if there's one lesson or maybe a couple lessons that you've picked up from these previous roles that, still carry today and how you approach your life and business, et cetera, what would that be?
That's a fantastic question. I'm sure a lot like many of your listeners we love a challenge, right? So we don't just sit around and just let life happen. So as new opportunities come, we want to kind of jump on those, right? So I guess the biggest thing about when I was in the Marine Corps was it really shaped my fundamental outlook on what I was capable of doing. And then it helped me keep that thermometer a little bit higher than normal. Before going to the Marine Corps, I didn't really have a high standard for my own self. And then coming out of that, I realized what humans are really capable of doing. And so now it gave me a whole new perspective of what's possible, right?
Yeah.
Had a great time in the Marine Corps, learned a lot of things, got out, and then I decided to go in the service industry business. And I didn't live in Vegas at the time when I made that decision, but I realized if I was going to do this the right way, I had to come where it's the king, where the kingdom is. So I came to Las Vegas, and I eventually ended up at the Palms, where I spent 10 years. From there, I learned a valuable lesson about how to treat people with respect. By the time I left, I was a director and I was a general manager of the Palms Pool and the Playboy Club at the same time. So I was running two different venues. 1 minute I'd be talking to a bachelor party from Oklahoma, and then literally 2 minutes later, I'd be dealing with 50 Cent or something like that. So each one of those people deserve respect and integrity when you're dealing with them. So it was a great way to kind of be able to adjust myself to fit what people expect and kind of deliver that.
Yeah.
And then once I got done with the service industry, I decided to become a realtor. I'd always been interested in real estate. Even as a kid in high school, I was at the library doing homework. When kids went to libraries back in the day, I'd always kind of sneak over and like read an real estate investment book or something. So I wanted to give it a shot, and I loved being a realtor full time for the first couple of years. And one of my clients, who worked for the department, said, you should come be a police officer. At the time I was in my mid 40s. So I thought it was kind of like the military where there's an age cap. And I told him, I was like, I'm a little bit old for that. And he told me, he's like, we don't have one. In fact, at the time, there was a guy who had just retired from being an airline pilot, and he was 65 going through the academy, and he was having a great time. So I was like, well, if a 65-year-old dude can do it, I mean, sure, he's got to have room for me somewhere in there, So I signed up and haven't looked back since. I've been able to do both careers, and I'm very fortunate to do two things that I really love to do. So I'm very happy about that.
Without a doubt. And I could see where that customer service experience that you had, the skills that you picked up, certainly are speaking about your real estate business now, certainly have I'm sure played a big part in how you approach clients, how you work with clients, just looking at the whole process. Because at the end of the day, that's what a real estate agent is you're a customer service representative. Maybe some don't look at themselves that way, but really at the end of the day, that's what you're doing, right?
100%. And I think that a part of that is, and this is what I kind of took from the Marine Corps, was that it's mission driven. Right. So there's times when you have a goal or you have something that you're trying to get done for your client, sometimes you have to step outside that customer service where you're being gentle with somebody, and you might have to get a little tough love and say, certain things. But at the end of the day, you're doing that to make sure they get what they want. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things I provide my clients is honest truth that really gets them where they need to be. And if they don't like me for it, okay, that's fine. I mean, I get it. I don't usually have that, especially by the end. It's quite the opposite. But in my mind, my goal is to be there for my client, not to be, held in esteem or something like that.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Excellent. So you've got a lot on your plate. I mean, you're working for the force. You're full-time agent. Does Rico have downtime? And if he does, what does he do with his downtime?
Yeah, I mean, a lot like you. You're a very busy and successful man out here doing your thing. It's all about prioritization, right? So biggest thing is family. That always comes first for me. And so I make sure that I spend time with my son. He's 9 years old. He just started fourth grade. So, I've got probably about another 7 or 8 years. And then all of a sudden, I won't see him too much. So I want to make sure that I get some time in with him. And obviously my wife, who's been very supportive over the years. But it's all about budgeting your time and making your priorities stick. And, sometimes you want to just sit on the couch and binge TV, but you've got other things you got to work on. So that's kind of where I try to keep my mind in.
Yeah. Is there anything out here in the community that you like to do when it's not 110 degrees out, of course, when the weather starts cooling off come October? Are you active out there? The things that you like to do I
am. I'm very fortunate. I was able to segment, like a lot of people, I've segmented part of my gym or part of my garage to make a gym. So I really, that is my stress reliever, is just trying to get in there and, being a little physical. It's great to be in there with my kid too. My wife joins in. So it's really nice. Some family affair. But yeah, you just I love being outdoors, but you're right. I'm not built for the 120 degree heat. I came from Chicago. I love the cold. So, I'm born
and raised here, and I'm still not used to it. I don't think you ever get used to it.
I can't
tolerate it, but you don't get used to it. Do you live in Inspirada?
I do. We moved there in 2016. So I've been fortunate enough to raise my family there.
What makes Inspirada so special, the community out there?
I will say, if you have a family, this has got to be one of the best places in the valley to live. And one of the reasons why is because the biggest thing for me, the homes are beautiful. It's well laid out. There's parks, there's pools. But really the key for me, which is something you can't really put a finger on, is that just about every block you go, there's kids and they're out playing. Right. Yeah. It's any parent has always had that battle with the screens, especially nowadays. Yeah. And it's so much easier to get your kid being active and learn that social development that he or she needs to when there's other children outside. I always wonder, like, sometimes if you're living in an apartment, like, how do you raise your child? I mean, it's hard to get them outside and doing things.
Sure.
So that's one of the things I love about it. And Inspirada provides open fields, they have parks, pools. There's so much for kids to do within a block or two of the home that they're not stuck inside, which is what I love about it.
Yeah. Now, obviously, a lot of young families, as you mentioned, are there. What about, are you seeing any retirees, any folks who maybe don't, the family's raised already and are now kind of in a different phase of life settling into Inspirada? Yeah,
well, and that's one of the great things about that community. So while it's not a 55 and over community,
right,
there are some well-established 55 and over communities in that general area. But right now, I mean, there's yoga in the park for seniors. There's over, 35 miles of trails within Inspirada. We have over 85 acres of outdoor facilities like parks and, playgrounds and basketball, that sort of thing. So you see a lot of the seniors being active. On Saturday mornings, I always see them, especially when I'm going to get my coffee. There's a group that just walks around together, and they're in their gear and they're ready to go. And there's male and females, and they're all over the place. And then there's another place. It's kind of funny. It reminds me a little bit of The Sopranos, if you remember, that. But
I'm already envisioning like a table, a couple guys with espressos, like watching the world go by.
Sort of. I mean, there's a table up front. There's a place called Romano's. Actually, It's an Italian place.
Yeah.
No relation. They're from Chicago as well. They're great people.
Yeah.
It's a little cafe. Kind of bodega type thing. They have homemade Italian foods. It's a fantastic place. But every day, probably till about noon, there's about 4 or 5 tables out front on their little patio on their front doors, and you're going to see a bunch of seniors out there with their dogs. They're all hanging out. They're talking. It's a meeting place for people, and that's
great.
And they got the park right there. So sometimes they bring their grandkids and they let them run around the park and they talk to their buddies while they're having a cappuccino or something, right?
Yeah,
so it's a nice vision to see.
That's great. That's great. And we here in Vegas have needed that type of community feel for a long time. Because when I was a kid, it was, wasn't as much of a community. It was still very transient. There was, a lot of emphasis on tourism still, and gaming. So these communities, these are essential, right? These are essential for Vegas.
Absolutely.
And Inspirada seems like it's one of those.
It is, and one of the things I like to see, and I know that you said you were born and raised here. One of the things coming from Chicago is that everybody loves Vegas, and we do have our communities and we have our neighborhoods, right? So I think that we're starting to see more of that because of what you're saying. Is that the Vegas Valley is now looking towards keeping people for generations rather than just for, hey, I came here for this job and I'm not doing that profession anymore. Now I'm going back to wherever, right? So we're seeing a little bit more of that established communities that are throughout the valley, and it's great to see because Las Vegas needs it.
Yep, yeah, we certainly do. So speaking about the market there, what are some trends that maybe you've been seeing in Inspirada as of late? Obviously, the market's got a lot of ups and downs right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. Buyers and sellers are some of them might be a little bit more cautious than maybe they have been, although it seems like that's hopefully changing a little bit. What are you seeing specifically in Inspirada just in terms of real estate trends?
So again, you've touched on a lot of key points that are going on, not only in the Vegas Valley, but nationally, right? There's a lot of concern about interest rates and affordability and that sort of thing. So Inspirada has been really keeping its own as far as the real estate market goes. Like the median home price is about $565. So we're still in that ballpark of relative affordability, right? I mean, and we go down we have starter homes that begin like around the 400,000 mark, and you're in a great school system. So it's really a great place for people to start, and then they can move up. We are seeing properties stay in the market a little bit longer. We are seeing more price reductions. And I think that in reality, that is beneficial for everyone, because before it was so tough for a seller, right? Oftentimes they would have to because the competition was so strict, they might say, oh, I'm not going to do an inspection. As much as an agent, I hate to hear that.
Yeah.
But sometimes in order to get a house, you have to do those things. And the market's now starting to level out a little bit. So it's making it a better market all the way around, depending exactly on what you want to do. If you're an investor, it's a little different. If you're selling, it's a little different. If you're buying, it's a little different. But one thing I love about Inspirada is that it's stable. Right, so we're not seeing huge swings up and down.
Great.
And it's good when you're trying to deal with one of your biggest assets that most people own.
Great. That's great to hear. What, in terms to retirees, when they are looking to buy, what are some of the things that, in your opinion, they should be thinking about when they're buying, and how potentially could Inspirada maybe fill some of those, objectives for them?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things, again, I keep on coming back to this, but it's the sense of community.
Yeah.
I think there's been more than enough data to show that one of the most important things is once you kind of to that point where you're not in your profession anymore and you're looking to be able to retire and do your own thing, you need to have that sense of community. And unfortunately, being a police officer, that's one of the things we have a problem with in our community, in our work community. But that's one thing I love about Inspirada. It's tight. My next door neighbor he was an old developer, and he's in his late 70s, and they don't have any kids. But it's just fantastic because they come out every afternoon when the kids are coming home from school. They have a little bucket of lollipops, and they always hand out lollipops. Their dog Benny is well known. Everyone calls him the mayor of our street that we live on. UPS drivers love it. So it's a great sense of community, not just for kids and not just for parents to get to know each other who have kids, but also everyone's invited and included. And I think that's one of the biggest things. And when you talk more about logistics side, I mean, one of the things I love about Inspirada, again, we kind of touched on that earlier, was they have price points from starter all the way up to 1.5, 1.7 million. So if whatever you're looking for in your retirement years, you can find it. If you want something budget conscious, they've got townhomes that are definitely going to fit your needs. And then also the other thing I love about when you're talking about logistics is there's a plethora of single-story homes available in Inspirada, which is a definite bonus as you get older. I mean, hey, look, I woke up this morning, my back was hurting just getting out of bed, right? Yeah. So, I mean, we all got to keep those considerations in mind. And if we don't have to deal with stairs when we get a little bit older, hey, that's a bonus,
That's right. Yep.
The other thing I do like about it too is the amenities they're not going to kill you in your pocketbook, right? So usually the HOA fees are around $250 to $300. If you're living in a Toll Brothers section, it's a little bit more.
Yep.
But that's affordable, right? And they've been that way pretty much since I've been living there. So they're not jacking up the prices. So if you're on a budget or you have some sort of fixed income, which like I'm looking at retirement at 5 years, I've got my pension coming up, I've got a fixed budget. I want to make sure that I don't get caught short somewhere down the line.
Right.
Yeah. So that's really about it.
With those HOAs, I mean, you get a lot of bang for your buck, though. I mean, everything you've talked about, the amenities, or speaking specifically for retirees for a second, I mean, you get a lot of amenities, community feel around the area. I know inside the area, you've got places to eat, you got coffee. I haven't been there recently. Is there, I know there's grocery stores nearby, but is there one yet in Inspirada? Is there talks about putting one in Inspirada? I haven't come across that yet.
So we have Romano's, right, which is the cafe.
Yeah.
It's been there for about 4 or 5 years. Very popular. If you're in Inspirada, you know about it. That is one of the biggest drawbacks, I would say, for Inspirada over the past couple of years is the fact that we don't have those amenities. We do have the shopping, the grocery store, like you mentioned.
Yep.
But we are lacking a little bit more on the restaurant side right now.
Yep.
Future developments, we've got the Inspirada casino coming in. Red Rock's going to be bringing their casino down. That's going to be huge. That's, it's going to change the game out there.
Yep.
And also for seniors. I mean, you've got the bowling alley, you've got movie theater, you're going to have obviously gaming. Yep. But all those things are starting to come. And we're really starting to see those now where I've been living there since 2016 and really up until the last 2 years, there hasn't been a lot of change. And now it's almost like exponential of what's coming in.
Yeah.
Because we have enough people living there now so it can attract the business. Before we were still a little bit shy. We were looking at like 5,000 to 7,000 homes. We're now about 10,000 homes occupied. Inspirada's looking at probably about 14,000 when it's all said and done. So now that we're getting the population out there, the businesses will come.
Yeah, it's a matter of time. Yeah. And then this whole West Henderson, that was, when I was a kid, there was no such thing as West Henderson. Now you got West Henderson, obviously with the Raiders facility and everything that's going there. I mean, it's just a matter of time before you're going to have everything you need. Already sounds like there's a lot of amenities, but whatever's missing, it's just, like you said, just a matter of time, a couple of years or so.
It's going to be stone's throw right now.
Yeah.
I mean, like anything in Vegas, and that's the thing coming from Chicago. Like, if it was 45 minutes to drive, you're like, oh, that's close, right in Chicago. But, here in Vegas, you're going to hear a lot of, problems if you say 45 minutes is close.
Yeah.
But everything really right now is 10, 15, 20 minutes close in Inspirada. But like you're saying, we need to get it stone's throw, like a couple blocks away or a quarter mile away, where we have options. And I think we're starting to get that now.
Yeah, that's excellent. I don't know how much you come across what we call retirement mortgages or reverse mortgages. But if you have, from your perspective, what you know about a reverse mortgage, just like to get your opinion on how you see that potentially fitting or not fitting in a client's decision-making process. Obviously, in this case, a retiree, someone who's 55 or older, in their process.
I'll tell you, and on this note, I really want to say thank you because it was something that I didn't really understand. We had a brief conversation, and that's one of the reasons why I'm sitting here today with you is because of the fact that I really appreciated the information that you gave me when I had a question about it. Because my impression of reverse mortgages was it was completely outdated, from decades ago. And when you explained how you could use this tool to unlock some of your equity, it was a game changer. It was something that I never really thought of, and I didn't think that could be used that well. So to me, it's something that I would not hesitate to recommend, at least exploring. Because one of the things I love about real estate is, it's usually your biggest asset, right? Most Americans, that is their only real asset for retirement.
Yeah.
And that's great. Equity is fantastic, but if it's not doing anything for you, it's not doing anything for you, right? Yeah. So you got to put it to work. And as we see inflation, it's more in the headlines and the news, you have to understand, how important that an inflation hedge or an inflation tool is. And I think this is a fantastic tool.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. I'm glad to hear that, you took the opportunity to learn a little bit more about that product and, how it could potentially help your clients. So that's great. And speaking about retirees when they're buying or selling, from your experience, what are some of the challenges that you've seen that they face, whether it be financial challenges or just lifestyle challenges that different financing options like maybe a reverse mortgage could be impactful for them? Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things I've dealt, and, again, being in the real estate as a realtor for over 13 years, I've come across different experiences, different clients, different types of goals that everybody wants.
Yeah.
But when I look at people, especially police officers that are looking to retire, that sort of thing, when I look at people that are looking to retire, one of the biggest things we're seeing is just the sense of the unknown and preparing for things how do you prepare for anything that's 15, 20 years out? You don't know what's going to happen. So nobody wants to be caught short, especially in your later years when you're not able to make up for anything or be able to compensate because you're just not as active or maybe not as physically strong, maybe at some point of your life. So I think that having that security and having a plan of handling things that you don't know, but when they do pop up, all right, look, worst case scenario, I got this. I can handle some big hits and then keep on moving forward and enjoying my retirement. I don't have to make huge changes. I don't have to burden my family. I don't have to, burden myself with, a penny pinching on every single little thing. So I think that's one of the sense of security, I think, is the biggest thing that comes into mind. And I think this is one of the things that helps with that.
Yeah. Planning ahead. Like you said, unfortunately, too many people, they start looking for solutions to problems when they're in the problem, and sometimes that can be difficult, right? When you're trying to find solutions, but you're in the storm, so to speak, it's kind of hard to navigate as opposed to, like you said, maybe looking at things where you can plan 5, 10, 15 years out, put some things in place today that's just going to make life a little bit more easier when you get to those storms, that we're all going to have at some point in our lives. We're all going to have different storms, and that's how you prepare. That's life, right? Yeah. And that's how you prepare for it, right?
100%. You bring up a great point. Like when you're in it, your options are limited, right? So plan now, right? And make sure that you have more options set aside for you when it does happen, because everything, you're going to run into some sort of bumps,
Some sort of bump. Yep. That's life. So with retirees and people who are 55 and older, do you believe that maybe there's a lack of awareness with some of these tools that, like, for example, maybe even a reverse mortgage, that maybe are not allowing them to plan as well as they could plan if they knew some of these other tools that are available to them ahead of time, as opposed to what we were just talking a second ago, which, they get into a problem and they start researching that problem and tools and options. And like you said, maybe it's a little too late, or they're not able to, have as many options available to them because of maybe their financial situation at that time.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of a mixed bag. I think that sometimes people are aware of reverse mortgages, but they were similar to my situation where they might have had a previous idea of what they were, and they're not aware of how they've evolved to answer the problems of the marketplace. And I think one of the great things, as we're seeing now with the information age, as they've been saying for the last 20, 25 years, is that people can now figure out things on their own. Once they hear an idea, like if I mention something, it happens all the time. I'll mention something, I'll pick up my phone, while the guy's talking or something, I'll make a little note or I'll do a quick, research on it. And then boom, I've got something I can take a look at later. So I think that we all know people are becoming much more educated when there's something that interests them. Yep. It's just a matter of making sure they're aware of what's out there. And people I have talked to a little bit about it, and after our conversation, I talked to a financial planner and kind of mentioned it to see what their response was. And I was surprised that because I hadn't heard it much, now from like different financial assets that I use, there's a lot of great information coming out from it. So I look forward to diving in a little bit deeper and learning more about it. But I think other people should as well, because like I said, I think it's a great safety net.
Yeah, good advice. One of the things I've seen, kind of maybe it's your tagline, I kind of saw, it's something you're putting out there, and it really struck me. I liked it. And you say you emphasize trust, integrity, and a boutique client experience. How does that show up in your service and benefit your clients, people that you work with?
I appreciate you taking note of that. Yeah. I do kind of take I'm in a situation where I can take advantage of a unique situation I'm in. And one of the things is that I have two sources of income. I have my LVMPD, and then I also have my realtor business. So what that allows me in my realtor business is I don't have to worry about paying my mortgage on commissions. I don't have to worry about negatively impacting my family if I don't get this sale. That allows me to give honest feedback and guidance to my clients. And it's something I pride myself on. And one of the biggest things I've been doing, especially for the last couple of years, and I know that some of the realtors may be mad at me when they hear this, but whenever somebody comes to me and tells me they want to sell their house and they have one of the 3 or 4% mortgages and they want to buy something different, the first thing I do is I sit down and we try to really go over their finances. I bring in, some mortgage brokers and see if there's any way we can keep this asset that they currently have. Most agents are more than happy to sell your home and find you a new one. In some situations, that's going to be the answer. But if there is a way that we can not do that, so that my client has an asset that their family can benefit from, that's where the angle I'm going to take. And yeah, that cuts into my commissions, but it builds on the fact that I want my clients to trust the knowledge that I've gained over the last decade. And I think that's one of the biggest things. I'm not out after numbers. I'm not out to be like the high. And there's nothing wrong with the teams out there that are crushing their numbers. Good for them. They're doing great work out there, and they are helping a lot of people. I just want to kind of focus individually. I don't take more than 3 clients at one time. I just can't service them the way I'd want a client to be serviced or how I'd want to be serviced. And so I can't limit myself to that. And I just try to be as honest and truthful as I can with them to give them all the information they can make the right decision for their own family and their own situation.
Yeah, that's refreshing. That's refreshing because, that is probably a common feeling that maybe a lot of potential sellers and buyers might feel, and I've heard that too, that sometimes they got to go through a few different real estate agents to find the one that fits for them because maybe they didn't feel like they had their best interests in mind, So what you just said, I think that's really powerful, and it's a great niche, like you said, a unique proposition that you can offer because of your background and your current situation that can really translate to helping clients really decide what's best for them, whether it's like you said, whether it's staying or put or maybe find something else. So that's
explore the
that's
options.
unique. Yeah, that's unique.
Well, thank you.
What haven't we touched on that Rico would like to get out there to the audience? Is there anything that we haven't touched on yet that you'd like to touch on? Anything at all?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. Yeah. I know that we've kind of skipped the surface of it a little bit, but I think one of the biggest things that I know that when you're talking to your clients, it's one of your things, and this probably goes back to, Marine Corps days as well, but just planning, especially for if you're getting close to retirement, right? If you're like myself, I got 5 years on my horizon until I start collecting my pension. And so now is the time. I might even be a little bit behind, right? I mean, there's things that I could be doing now to plan for that day when it comes. So I think planning in the future, talking to financial resources like yourself to kind of get a good idea of where you stand and what you could be doing now in order to put yourself in a better situation when the time comes. I think that is paramount. I also think it's really important to really get a good idea, especially for retirements. What I'm kind of kicking around right now is like, hey, what are my supposedly golden years? What do they look like? Like, what do I want to do? How much is that going to cost? Where are my fixed incomes? What are my fixed, liabilities, right? Kind of map that all out. I think that would be key too, especially when you start talking to somebody like you. I mean, that way you can kind of get all the pieces together. And then it's not one of those things where, it's the last day of work, you got the watch, you're walking out in the parking lot and you're like, what am I going to do tomorrow? You know what I mean? Like, you got a kind of an idea of how things are going to be. And I think that's going to be fantastic for your outlook. I think those two things are kind of paramount. You talk about a lot, and I can't agree with you more on that. The only other thing, and this is a little self-centered a little bit on this one, but I kind of want to put out there, I'm putting together a run in Inspirada for Marine Corps. We're having the 250th birthday this year in November. Okay. And I'm sure even everybody knows when the Marine Corps birthday is because you hear Marine Corps people say about it all the time. Yeah. It's almost annoying even for myself. I get it. But so this year's a big one. It's 250. So I'm putting together, I'm just in the developing stages right now. We're going to do probably a veteran run in Inspirada for it. Obviously, it's for vets, Marine Corps vets that want to kind of celebrate the birthday. And for you that don't know, ask a Marine, because we have some traditions that we do. Yeah. But if anybody wants to come out and join us or support us, we'd love it. I'll get some more information on that and check in. I should have my website up and running. Hopefully everything's going to be running. I'm looking for mid-September, so I'll start marketing a lot for that. So if you're interested, keep your eyes open. I'll be on social media pushing that, and we'd love to get a great turnout. Excellent. Yeah. Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, we'll definitely be looking out for that. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Anything else that comes to mind here? Anything that you want to tell the public out there from we're putting on your Metro hat for a second? Anything that we should all be more mindful of, or I mean, it's school time now, right? Yeah. I mean, we're starting school, so again, you're going to work. Remember that like kids are going to get dropped off at school. It's going to take you a little longer now. You're going to work, and there's a lot. And I love my 9-year-old son. He's a great kid. He's as responsible as he can be for a 9-year-old, but he has his limitations, right? And so just understand that kids are going to do what kids are going to do. And we as adults have to kind of anticipate that. So slow down when you're going to work or when you're coming back from work, and just be conscious of what's going on out there in the environment. And then just also, as behalf of my career in the LVMPD, I just got to say thank you to the public, because you guys make our job so easy. There's other places throughout the country that we don't have the support of the public and that we do here. And it's just so much better. And it makes us so much easier to give that extra mile for those citizens that give the extra mile for us too. So thanks again for everything. And thank you for your time. I apprate letting me come on this. This is great. Listen, from the community, thank you as well. I'm sure everyone would, if they had the opportunity to meet with you, shake your hand, they would thank you as well for that. So can't thank you enough for all the service that you and the department does for us, keeping us safe out there and protecting us always. So thank you. How can people get a hold of you? All right. So if you're interested, on Instagram Inspirada Life, you can call me on my cell phone, text message me anytime, 702-283-2736. You can also send me an email if you'd like, Rico, R-I-C-O, @inspiradalife.com. And like I said, mid-September, check out inspiradalife.com. We're going to be having some updates, and it's going to be a resource for you if you want to find out what's going on in and around that community. Excellent. We're going to be looking out for that. All Rico, right, thanks so much for coming in today. And for you viewers out there, thanks so much for tuning in again. You got Rico's information, but if you got any questions on today's segment, any questions that you'd like me to relay to Rico, just
send them here, send some comments, contact me. You've got my information. And as always, if you got any questions on housing wealth and how you can better put your housing wealth to work via reverse mortgages, reach out to me anytime. Look forward to the next one. Until then.